So can you tell us a little bit about Fields, what it is?
Yeah, so Fields is kind of this portrait of my friend Richard, who I met through playing soccer. And pretty soon after, I met him, I kind of realized that he has a very interesting story to tell. He would always be, whether he was coming to practice or leaving practice, everywhere he was going, he was always coming to play soccer. So he would practice with us and then he would have a game right after. He would be reffing, he would be coaching, all in the same day. And to me, I found that very inspiring, the way he kind of almost centers his life around his passion and then figures out a way to make that work regardless of his age, regardless of, responsibilities that he might have. So I found that very inspiring, and I thought that'd be really cool to kind of follow him around, because I would see him for a brief glimpse in the day, but then his day existed in so many other places, so many other fields, hence the name.
That makes sense. So the first thing when I saw the finished product of this documentary for the first time that really stood out to me is how stylized it is. The editing, the sound design, the cinematography. Can you explain to me a bit about what your vision was in pre-production before going into this, and how you plan to bring that vision to life?
Yeah, for sure. So I think I guess for cinematography specifically, we kind of have it divided into maybe two different parts. We have sort of the real life footage, kind of just fly on the wall. I wanted to feel like as disassociated from him as possible, in that sense, as if we weren't really interfering. We were just simply kind of watching him go about his day and exist in this community of people that he has. And then the other half was the sort of, I guess, footage to represent kind of his inner thoughts and his doubts and his experiences, and maybe sort of the more difficult parts of his lifestyle. So for that, we really wanted something very kind of dark and moody. So we shot at this indoor soccer field with very dark lights, very kind of dramatic lighting, dramatic rapid camera movement and things like that. And that was sort of inspired by I guess more so sports commercials and things like that. But then and then in terms of sound design and the editing as well, we really just wanted to, I guess, kind of switch from these positive moments to these very more dramatic moments, and moments where he's kind of looking in on himself, I guess, a little bit. So we try and have some positive, more upbeat music, and faster cuts that then switch into much more kind of slowed down, more moody music, sort of to match his inner reflection and the doubts that he faces.
And I mean, you're a soccer player as well, soccer fan person.
Yes.
How do you think your experience as a soccer player informed some of the decisions behind the documentary?
I think definitely in terms of capturing that footage. I think that I wanted to kind of visually capture the game differently than how you would see it on TV, a much different kind of access to it, because on TV you're watching from very high up in these big stadiums, and it feels like a grand event. But the way I wanted to showcase Richard and the community that he has is almost like the opposite of that. It's very much a tight-knit community social event more than anything. So I feel filming a lot closer up from the sidelines and things like that, we were able to capture parts of the game that you don't usually see on TV.
And you mentioned you wanted to be uptight, close, personal on him, and not the game as a spectacle. And that's another thing that I really liked about the doc, is that even though it's centered around sports, it's a very human story. It's very much about Richard's passion and finding that something that he loves, that he thought could be a career, might just be something that he loves. And I was wondering, why do you think a story like that is important to tell?
I think, yeah, kind of the way you said it, it doesn't have to be about sports. It can be about anything. What I think is so inspiring about Richard is that, he's found the one thing that makes him the happiest in life, which again, some people, are still searching for. And that's not something that is easy to find. And then even when you do find it, being able to hang on to it, no matter your circumstances, no matter your age. I feel like, you know, hobbies and passions and sports, anything like that is something that we're so encouraged to do as kids. And we get put in music lessons or sports leagues and things like that. But then once we hit a certain age, once we become adults, it's kind of expected for you almost to just give that up. And I think it's really cool that Richard refuses to do that, no matter injuries, no matter monetary decisions and things like that. He finds a way to ref and coach and make money while still maintaining his lifestyle and doing what he wants.
What is Richard up to nowadays?
Richard, I mean, I talk to him every now and then. He's still playing. He recently graduated from Sheridan as an electrician, which is very cool. But yeah, no, still playing multiple times a week. He's got men's leagues. He's still coaching his under 12 team, his competitive team there. He's still reffing. So, I mean, pretty much doing the same thing he was doing when we shot the doc. Yeah, nothing's changed.
I mean, I think with a guy like that, it'll never change.
I don't think it will, man. You could ask me that question in 5 years. He'll be doing the same thing he was doing in that doc. Yeah.
What was the most challenging thing about bringing this to life?
Maybe the most challenging part, but also, in my opinion, some of the most fun that we had making that was just, following Richard all the way across, following him all the way across the GTA. Me and the DP Dylan, we would kind of just grab both of our cameras and just go and try and shoot more stuff of him actually, at these games and in these spaces, just following him around. So we would be, taking buses to Brampton. We went to Mississauga. Richard actually drove us all the way to Newmarket for one of the games he was coaching. We drove all the way to Etobicoke and then realized we were at the wrong place. And we just, we went and got food and went home. We didn't even end up shooting anything that day. So I feel like it was definitely challenging just because Richard's so involved that he's going anywhere. He's going everywhere. That can be a bit challenging to kind of follow him around doing all that, but that was also some of the most fun to shoot, for sure.
And for people who watch Fields, if they could take away one thing from it, what would you want them to take away?
I think to take away for themselves would be to, try and maintain your hobbies, no matter what that is, because we're so conditioned to needing to work and needing to fulfill a whole bunch of different requirements in life. But I think at the end of the day, that stuff isn't necessarily going to make you happy. And yeah, being able to continue one of your hobbies and even turn it into a career is something that I think is so valuable and something that a lot of people should really consider. And hopefully this film helps them do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Lachlan. If you want to watch Fields, you can check it out at CrowdPicks Film Fest, Oakville on September 24th.
Be there.